John 17:3 is incompatible with Orthodox Trinitarian theology, and that's because it distinguishes between the only true God and Jesus Christ, whom the only true God has sent. It might be easy to not quite understand how this can be, how this verse is incompatible with Orthodox Trinitarian theology, but if you think about it, ultimately an Orthodox Trinitarian doesn't believe in a personal God. Now they may boast, oh yes, we have a personal God, but such a statement is contradictory to their doctrine because for them, there are three persons, Father, Word, and Holy Ghost, who make up the one being that is God. And that one being for them is not a person, it's a being. There's Father, Word, and Holy Ghost are three persons making up that one being. So unless they want to give definition A of person and definition B of person, the way they're using being is to distinguish. Basically, being is what you are. A person is who you are, which I think that's a fine definition. And I wouldn't have a problem saying I worship the one being that's God, but I would also say I worship the one person that is God too, just as much as I worship the three persons who are each God, which, of course, consistently speaking, that's gods with a capital G. Three gods, three divine persons. So, when the Bible speaks of one Lord, when Deuteronomy 6:4 speaks of Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and then you also read in the Bible about singular personal pronouns attributed to God, him, he, thou, thy, we know without doubt that it's referring to a person, because these are personal singular pronouns. And the significance of this is because just simply now look at what does the Bible refer to as the one God? Well, Orthodox Trinitarians understand that the Father is a person, of course. This very verse is teaching in John 17:3 that the only true God is a singular person, not a singular being, although of course he is. I'm just saying, in the way an Orthodox Trinitarian thinks about it, it's not accurate because they have three persons, only three persons making up the one being of God, versus this verse is saying one person is the only true God. Hence, he's also one being and one person is the only true God. That's a consistent biblical teaching. So all the verses that teach about, basically I alone do these things, or, I'm God and there's none else, it's referring to a single person, not a single being. Orthodox Trinitarian speaking. That is the power of this verse, destroying the very doctrine that they would hold dearly to, but yet it's incompatible with this verse because it teaches that the one person and the one being that is God is a single person, the Father, who is all of God, the only true God. And again, none of this takes away from the fact that Jesus is also the only true God, the Holy Ghost is also the only true God. But that also means Jesus is the Father and the Holy Ghost, and then the Holy Ghost is the Father and Jesus, etc. The Father is Jesus and the Holy Ghost, because he's all of God. Each one has all the fullness of God. And again, there are three that bear record in heaven: the Father, the Word, and the Holy Ghost. And these three are one. Polytheism, monotheism at the same time. And again, a consistent Orthodox Trinitarian believes there's only three persons who make up one being. John 17:3 is clearly not talking about one being because they would admit it's teaching one person, the Father, is the only true God. The problem is it doesn't agree with their doctrine, because that one being, that one person is the Father, a singular person, and that cannot be an Orthodox Trinitarian theology because they need the text to mean one being. So in other words, the Trinity is the one being of God. That's what they need. They can't have one person of that Trinity being the being. That's a distinguishing factor between my theology and their theology. John 17:3 can stand as it is, fits beautifully with all these other passages in the Bible that clearly an average person is going to understand as that God is a singular person. And Orthodox Trinitarians rip that away from you. Virtually, I mean, there's just so many times, I mean, page after page after page, book after book, God is identified as a singular person. But an Orthodox Trinitarian, they don't really believe that. They will lapse back and forth as they see fit to have it be either a being or a person. And then there'll be other verses that refer back to those verses, and they'll have to keep changing their story. This is what it is, and it's a complete mess. There's no consistency. The only consistency is their inconsistency. So, hope that's a help. John 17:3, incompatible with Orthodox Trinitarian theology.